Hello and welcome to entry number 6 of the Midnight Almanac. Today's episode was inspired by a conversation I had with my boyfriend just yesterday. He was telling me about a friend who owns some website, some local media outlet of sorts, and apparently the friend is not very sure how to fully leverage that tool that he has at his fingertips. He was uncertain of whether he should become more of a serious media outlet. As you know, media outlets seem to have a lot more clarity on how to make profit from their platforms. To this, I replied, looking a bit at my own expertise and adding a bit of my own opinions in there as well. I try to map both the benefits and the disadvantages of trying to pursue that kind of path moving forward with the website. On the one hand, it is very much true that media outlets seem to have shifted significantly in the past few years, the past decades even. This is a worldwide phenomenon where media outlets have had to compete for attention with entertainment and with internet personalities and with a variety of other things. Of course, phones and the whole dopamine effect that they have on us are monopolizing a lot of our attention these days. And I think that has definitely resulted in media outlets exploring new formats so that they too can be on the social media game and hopefully try to gather some of our attention as well. This is what a lot of people call fighting for a slice of the pie, right? In this case, the pie would be our attention, right? And even though media outlets have modernized a lot of their strategies and a lot of their business models, I do still believe that media outlets are going to be wiped out eventually. We are seeing a shrinkage of their teams, and we are seeing a shrinkage of the media outlets themselves. There are less and less reputable outlets. The function that they carry out in society, I think, has also changed. And the role of the journalist is also evolving. On the one hand, journalists are expected to compete with influencers for our attention. And on the other, they are also expected to know a lot of tools like video editing and writing hooks and growing their social medias, as if their own work as journalists wasn't hard enough on its own. So they're expected to have this new skill set. Of course, this isn't just true for journalists. A lot of professions have begun to adopt a lot of these tools since the digital world has grown in reputation and relevance. That being said, I do think there's an important conversation to be had around what I like to call vanity metrics. Now, vanity metrics are not a word I came up with. This is not a term of my own. I saw it somewhere on TikTok, and I think I've heard it used repeatedly by a variety of sources. I can't cite any of them right now. I apologize. But the thing with vanity metrics is a lot of companies care about those, and in this particular case, and because of the conversation we're having right now, I need to mention that a lot of media outlets seem to be caring for those as well. Media outlets used to be very organic things. They would cover the stories and they would build, or at least journalists would build, relationships with publicists, and that's the way things would go. But as media outlets have seen themselves in a need for more profit, they have started to switch to paid collaborations a lot more. And I think as a result of that, the credibility has been compromised. There are yearly measurements of the trust that the population have in these media outlets, and it seems to be going down year after year after year. Whether this is the only factor, the paid collaborations that exist now, I don't think so. I don't think this is the only factor. There are definitely other things happening, but it's important that we mention it. And the reason why I was using the word vanity metrics before is because I need to call out a lot of what's happening between companies and media outlets. So really, when it comes to organic collaborations, a lot of PR people are writing pieces, obits for the spokespeople of the company they are representing, and they are using AI tools. So we have an AI written text, and then organically the publicist shares these texts with the media outlet, and then the media outlet might do a little bit of magic there with their knowledge around search engine optimization. So they might change the title slightly to make it more interesting and easier to search. And then by the time they uploaded it, it's really a text written by a machine for a machine, because then realistically, who is going to read those texts? Likely some monitoring service for the company we're working for, or the competition that happens to have the name of different companies in the sector inside their monitoring systems. So to me that sounds like, what's the point, right? And then when I say vanity metrics, I mean, in order for media outlets to charge companies for a paid collaboration, they are going to try to bring some data, right? They will say something like, we have a newsletter with 1,000 people subscribed, but do we know how many of those subscribers are actually reading the newsletter? Do we know how many of them are actually opening the newsletter? Do we even know if they care about the newsletter? Surely if it's a paid newsletter, it's more likely that these are actually engaged readers. But otherwise, if this is a free newsletter, I don't think this is working, right? One of the modern kind of things that we struggle with quite a bit, I think, is spam. We as consumers and as readers and as users, we get bombarded with information every day. And whenever we buy a product, or whenever we, share our email for a purpose, we often find that it's been shared and we are now receiving newsletters that we never signed up for. So really, I think the trust has been eroded beyond repair, and the attention is just not there anymore. Same with a lot of other metrics. A media outlet might say something along the lines of, we get this much traffic every day and we get this much readers every day. And I think it's worth actually separating whether these traffic are actual people or whether they are bots. And ideally, I think metrics should take that into consideration. But the reason I call them vanity metrics is I think they don't. I think out of convenience, media outlets don't take the time to really get that much insight from their metrics. They just use the biggest numbers they have at hand, because of convenience, because it will make them sound more serious in front of an interested company, and the company will pay whatever rate you give them. And it's something I am not enjoying. And it's definitely one of the reasons why I chose to leave that world altogether. But I'm calling it out right now because I think we are going to see a very important shift. We are already seeing a very important shift in the way we consume information. So if you're a company, or if you're an expert, or if you're any person really trying to share your thoughts, your expertise, your information on something, I think you need to be paying attention to how this is working and how the new system is going to be configured. I wanted to talk about influencers as well because the way information trickles down from them has also changed. Influencers, personalities, celebrities, they used to work. They used to be quite influential and quite powerful. And they used to be quite compelling. People would buy products just because of these known faces and known personalities. In the past, if you had a celebrity do a commercial for a product, it would inevitably result in sales. But right now, things are working a little bit differently. And of course, again, the economic environment has its own challenges, and families are obviously facing a lot of challenges. But right now I want to focus on how attention has shifted and how influence is shifting as well. So celebrities, influencers, and a lot of these personalities used to follow a very vertical way of distributing information, in which they were the experts, they were the sources, they were sharing the information, they were educating you, perhaps they were entertaining you, and you as a very passive consumer would sit on the other side of the screen and just consume. And I think that model is expired. We are seeing an important shift into closer knit communities in which creators aren't just trickling down information, but are actually having horizontal dialogues with people with similar interests and people within their communities. So there was a time where celebrities had fans. There was a time where even influencers themselves also had fans, and they even had nicknames for their fandoms. It looks to me like we are shifting towards a very different and more authentic model. The thing is, it's obviously going to take more work. If you as an influencer or you as a creator want to succeed with this new model of community, you need to nurture that community, and you need to be open for that community to nurture you as well. So that is a much more vulnerable relationship than the parasocial relationships that dominated the past decade. Of course, one of the risks I see with this word community is that it's being thrown a lot at many things. And it's thrown a lot as... It's thrown around as a solution to problems that a lot of people have. So it becomes something that people want and people covet and people aim for. The thing is, I think it's very easy to get it twisted. A lot of people do get it twisted. People think community is the same as networking, right? People think that going to a networking event is the same as building community, and really it isn't. Building community means that you have to nurture that people, and you have to be there for them, and you have to create value and give value and be generous before you even start to receive anything. And some people are extractors, right? So people go to networking events hoping to get something out of there without attempting or intending to give anything. And that's an approach that with community is likely not going to work. Communities are good at spotting these extractor personalities and are likely going to stop engaging once they clock them. So community as a model requires a lot more investment of your energy, of your attention, of your care. And that's quite an interesting shift that we are seeing. Personally, I think it's becoming a lot more intentional and a lot more deliberate, the way we consume things, I mean. Because we are taking back the ownership of our time and our energy and our attention, and we are being much more aware of where we want to spend it and how. So a lot of these communities obviously come with a membership subscription, but when people are willing to pay for it, that's because they actually get value from those communities. So if you are interested as a creator if you're a creator and you're interested in like building for this next phase of the internet and this next phase of business and this next phase of selling and ideas and attention economy, I think this is something you are going to have to start doing in a very intentional way. I myself want to continue reading about this. I want to continue noticing the patterns that are beginning to emerge, and I also want to see some success cases. So I might come back with some examples at a future entry, but for now, this is all I wanted to share. I hope it's been helpful and interesting, and I will see you at a different episode.